Hello and welcome back to the channel where we are all about research and more research. We call this the research platform. It's created to disseminate information on research, knowledge generation, and thinking and researching and publishing from a global south. Because the global south has been neglected, number one, but most importantly and most painfully and tragically, the global south has neglected itself for so long. That is why we need platforms such as this one, where we are saying we are scholars from the global south. We need to talk about ourselves. We don't have to have other people talking about our experiences. Let us be the ones who tell our stories so that we can tell them the way they actually are. Now, today we are discussing what usually gives most of my students headache. It's called an assignment. Now, an assignment in law looks like this. You're given a task. Basically, you're going to have a scenario because you're studying towards a law degree. You will have a scenario with facts, and you'll be asked to, either critically discuss those facts. That if we ask you to do that, we're basically asking you to. We're basically trying to figure out, can you apply your mind? Can you think independently? Can you think cogently and deductively? Can you make arguments and support them? Can you differ from other people's arguments and still feel comfortable to support and stand by your own arguments? Sometimes we'll give you a set of facts and we'll ask you to give advice. When we ask you to do that, we're basically saying apply the law to the facts, like you would in court if you are representing this particular individual. Go ahead and do exactly that. That little piece of work called an assignment often gives students a headache, a big one, albeit an unnecessary one. Students get these headaches from assignments and they're not really necessary. Why do I say that? Because assignments are hardly given the day before and due in 2 days' time. Assignments are almost always given ahead of time, depending on the institution. The time between the time between the point at which the assignment question is circulated and the time at which the assignment itself is due can range from a whole semester to a month or a few weeks. Honestly, if you're given that much time and you still have a headache about writing an assignment, perhaps you need to sit down and have a conversation with yourself and ask yourself, are you really serious about life? Will you cope in the corporate world if you're going to be approaching your tasks like that? Are you a time-oriented person or not? Are you a person who is in charge of your own time management or not? Because that's a lot of time, really. But yeah, students complain all the time. So that's what assignments look like, and that's what we're trying to understand from students when we give them assignments. The one that usually gets them the most is the one on critical discussion. If you are asked to critically discuss a particular point in law, we're not asking you to go and regurgitate what John Dugard is saying or what Henry Stridham is saying. Yes, you must read their books and many others. But we're not asking for a cut and paste. We're not asking for a simple paraphrase. We're not asking for you just rehashing what every other literature you've read is saying. No, we want to see you engaging with the content. We want to see you engaging with the materials that are out there in a scholastic way, in a very critical way. We want to see that you understand the content that you were asked to read. We want to see your creativity in the development of your arguments. We want to see flow in your arguments. You can't be all over the place. One moment you're talking about jurisdiction, the next moment you're talking about the sentence, the next moment you're back to jurisdiction again. You don't know what you're doing and you're probably going to fail dismally if you do that. We want to see a common thread running through your argument from start to finish. You've never seen a lawyer standing up in court and going all over the place. One moment he's applying for bail on behalf of his client. The next moment he's going into the elements of an interdict. Before you know it, he's dealing with contempt in the same application, and those things are not even related. And yet, students submit things like those. And then when they get a 0, their world comes crashing down. You can never attract a passing mark if you are that type of student. There must be a clear line flowing through your argument from start to finish. That's what an assignment is about. We're trying to understand if you can sustain this argument, if you can develop an argument, if you can build up your argument, point after point after point after point until the end. And you notice that most of these questions, especially in the legal sector, hardly have a yes or no answer. And that's by design, because that's not what we're aiming for. We're not looking for yes or no. We're not asking you, is the sky blue? And then you say yes, others say no. We're not asking for that. Our question is, it has been argued that the sky presents itself as a blue phenomenon, or as a blue whatever it is. And your task is to distill the arguments around that and eventually arrive at your own conclusion, which may differ from your fellow students' conclusion. The one student may say it is indeed blue. After having looked at all these arguments, the sky is blue. But you may have a different take to say, listen, the sky is not blue. Depends on where you stand. If you stand at Antarctica, where there's so much reflection from the ice on the surface of Antarctica, the color of the sky will be different. If you stand at the equator, where the sun is hot, and the tilt of the earth towards the sun is at a particular angle compared to Antarctica, obviously the sky will be a little bit different in color. If you stand on the North Pole, and given the interaction between the gases there in the air, the sky may present itself as a moving body of color, an orchestra of colors. So I conclude that the sky is not necessarily blue as claimed in the facts. That's what we're looking for when we give students assignments. But what students do, they go and see, okay, Dube says the sky is blue, cut, paste. Dube says the sky is blue. Next, Stridom says the sky is blue, cut, paste. The sky is blue. Therefore I conclude the sky is blue. No, you're not passing that. That's a dismal fail. That's a dismal fail. Argue. Make your argument. Raise your points. Support them. Even if other scholars say something different from what you are saying, be bold enough to say, this is my point. This is my stance. I stand by it because of reasons 1, 2, 3. The other thing that students do is, you've been asked to do an assignment and you've been given a particular set of instructions. You've been told the margins of your pages on the sides must be, say, 2 centimeters on all sides. And you go and put 2 inches. Honestly, 2 inches and 2 centimeters are not the same thing. You've already annoyed the person who's assessing your script. And then others go, and you've been told to use this particular font at this size with this line spacing. And they go and they do double spacing like you're using a typewriter. We're not using a typewriter here. What are you using double spacing for when we've asked you to do 1.5? When we asked you to use 12 pt font size, and you go and use 10 pt because you think the smaller the letters, the more pages I can cover. You cannot get away with it that way. These are some of the tricks that students use which end up tripping them, because you don't get more marks simply by reducing the font size and hoping to cram in more words there. We're not looking for the voluminous nature of your writing. We're looking for content, for substance, for reasoning in that particular thing that you've submitted. Then the other thing that students go and do is they submit work that looks so whack. You read it, it's like torture to your eyes. You look at it, it's not justified. The margins on the right keep going in and out, in and out, in and out. It's not a straight, nice line of text that's been submitted. And yet the books that you were reading to prepare for that assignment are nicely justified. The edges are nicely justified. That's not a mistake. That's how writing is. That's how you expect to write when you finish university. Wherever you're going to be employed, they will expect that of you. But no, some students will submit whatever they want. Paragraphs that are not the same spacing in between, paragraphs that are not justified, paragraphs with yellow and blue and green ink all in there, different fonts, different font sizes. Like, really, do you really expect to pass having submitted that? No, you cannot. In all honesty, you cannot. And then there's the issue of plagiarism, which many students would like to believe it doesn't exist, but it does. You see someone giving you a 10-page document, not a single footnote, nothing. If you do that, you submit this 10-page document containing your assignment and you have not cited any authority. You're basically saying all these 10 pages came from my head. I'm the author, I'm the originator of these ideas. And that is a huge lie, because at your level, you cannot be producing anything. You have to go and find authority for those arguments that you are raising. Because in law, we deal with authority. That's why when you go to court and apply for bail or apply for dissolution of a marriage, you don't just go there and say, if it pleases the court, I'm here to apply for dissolution of marriage. Please grant it to us. We want to go home. No. You will tell the court why they should grant that order. You will use authority. You will base your argument on a particular act or the constitution. You will use certain judgments of the court as precedent to say, in this particular case, the court held 1, 2, 3. Therefore, we're urging the court to hold in the same format in this case as well. Authority. But when people are asked to do an assignment, they don't want to touch authority. Like how? How do you do that and still pass? It's impossible. You're basically asking for something that's so impossible, you will fail. It's as simple as that. In law, we use authority. If there's no authority, it's going nowhere, you're going nowhere, your marks are below 0. So people cut and paste things as they are. Then they call it their own work, their own assignment. And they put no footnotes there. Then they go to the end and put a bibliography. And when you tell them, listen, you've plagiarized. No, but I didn't plagiarize. I have a bibliography. Like, yeah, you still plagiarized. End of story. It is plagiarism. You cite as you go. All those ideas that you're advancing, you need to cite authority. That's how in the legal field we do it. The other thing, and this I think stems from the way universities approach assignments, which is very, very flawed. I've worked in a few institutions in my life. I talk from experience when I refer to these things. The idea or the practice that gives students the idea that if they are to be given an assignment, they are also to be given the materials to use for the assignment. That is utter nonsense. An assignment is a research piece of work. We are testing your ability to research. If in my attempt to test your ability to research, I must then package together the raw materials for you to use and say, these are the materials to use to carry out the assignment, I am feeding you poison. Because that is equivalent to going to court to apply for an injunction against someone who's taking your land, by force. And you saying to the court, if it pleases the court, we are representing Mr. or Miss X. In this case, is the owner of the property. And the rowdy crowd has come in, they've taken over the property. We want this court to issue an injunction, preventing those people from coming into the property and disturbing his or her peaceful possession of that property. And you going then ahead to say, if it pleases the court, may we have the relevant law that we can use to apply for this? And judge, while we are still at it, could you please give us the cases we can cite to support our argument? It's exactly that. You've been given an assignment, but you want to be given the information or the sources that you must use. Please, if you are still at that level of thinking, you are going nowhere as a researcher. Stay away from research. That is not how we do research. Nobody can give you the raw materials with which to work your assignment. That is why we end up with, the kind of lawyers that we have now. I'm going to show this video just now. Lawyers who go to court not prepared, and when the judge doesn't give them the order they were wishing for, they throw tantrums. Toys, teddy bears start flying out of the baby court. Tantrums. They start insulting judges and stuff like that. It all begins with training lawyers who think and believe that judges, or who think and believe that whoever is adjudicating over their matter is there to massage them. It all starts with someone thinking, you gave us an assignment question, therefore go ahead and give us the sources we're supposed to use to carry out this assignment. That is not how it's done.
And every time I tell the judges that, the judges tell me, oh, but you're an attorney. I'm sick of it. Mr. Sampson?
I've heard you. I am going to make an order now. The order is granted in terms of the draft order.
Judge, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, Judge, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and the fucking judges that fucking came before you. Fuck you. They go fucking tell him they're all in mother's pussers, man. They're all in fucking mother's pussers. Go fucking tell him that. Go fucking tell him that. Fuck you, Judge. Fuck you.
Ms. Seiko, please get somebody to remove Mr. Sampson from the court building.
It is research you are testing, your research capability. Go out there, find the information. Because when your client comes to you and says, listen, I was driving on the November 1, I came across a roadblock, they arrested me, they made me blow into the little thingy, and they said, yeah, but the readings are too high, therefore we're taking you in. Your client is not the one who will tell you, listen, go and consult this act, go and consult that High Court judgment, use those two to argue for my freedom. No, it's you, the lawyer, who must know where to find the law and how to use that law to obtain your client's freedom. So when we set out a research question, we are testing those things. So I would urge any student who has been doing that in the past to stop that bad behavior. It's bad. It's taking you nowhere as a researcher. And this is prevalent within the undergraduate modules, where students expect to be given material, and be told which pages of the book to read to answer the assignment. Like, are you really ever going to do a postgraduate degree if you think like that? Are you ever really going to go to PhD if you still have that approach to life? Nobody will babysit you there. That's why we shouldn't be babysitting anyone at undergraduate level. It starts early. That's why the research module, the research paper component, ought to be compulsory for every undergraduate degree. Because even to work as a lawyer, you need to know how to research. Because to find authority to support your client's case, you need to do research. That's why we're training you on research. I think that's a mouthful. I've said a lot today. But yeah, that's all I needed to say on issues around the phenomenon of, or issues around what we call an assignment in the academic sector. I hope this is very, very helpful for those of you who really want to improve their research standing, even as undergraduate students, even as postgraduate students. Do not forget to leave us comments below on other things that you perhaps think or feel or wish we could address. We'll try and do more research on them, put together an episode and bring it here. Most importantly, please don't forget to subscribe and to click like on this and to share it within your community of researchers. Until next time, Angelo Dube signing out and saying cheers.